Hello, fiends, friends, and familiars. This is Matt Orozco from Macabre Daily here, and I'm joined by a good friend of the site, Mr. Nick Bankhead, who not only is a former writer, but now is going to be a future filmmaker. Nick, nice to have you.
Thanks so much for having me. I do miss my scribings for the site, but as you know, and as while we're having this conversation, um, introducing the cabin to the people has definitely taken up a lot of time.
Totally, totally. And we know that you're pursuing your passion, which is really what the point of all existence is. But what we're here to talk about today more explicitly is Murder Cabin Foundation, which is written and co-directed by Mr. Nick Bankhead here with his partner Brian Redmond taking over the helm on the cinematography side. Now, for those that aren't aware, Nick is the co-host of a podcast you've probably seen on your Instagram feed, SlashU. So he's no stranger to the scary side of cinema. So Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came about to the idea of Murder Cabin Foundation and when things really started to get going on the production process.
It's cool. Thank you first for taking the time out to talk with me. This is just great. I wouldn't want to do it anywhere else, like Fangoria or People Magazine could call it. I'd be like, "Fuck off,"
Yeah,
like
stuff it.
yeah.
Time movie of the year, no
If it's
thanks.
not MD, it's nothing. It's funny. I was up north in the north woods of Wisconsin, uh, and I went there to go write. I took one of my dogs, went up there, my computer, and it was to write another script just to start on. I figured going up to North Woods in May, no one's up there, and I was staying in this really small cabin and was talking to my wife, and we started joking around like I was on a lake, and of course the trope, the cabin, the lake, time to die. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm staying in a murder cabin. Like, and so we left. So, but it stuck with me, murder cabin. So it was a lot. I'm no stranger to script writing. I write for a living. So I it was full on. And I got the idea of sectioning it off. I had this idea for a feature, but it would take place like one would take the cabin would be shown in the 50s, the cabin would be shown in the 90s instead of the 80s. Show in the 90s, where the kids were listening to a lot of Sugar Ray. No, I'm just kidding. But and then they were
Smash
listening.
Mouth. Yeah.
Creed. No, but they and then it was present day. So Murder Cabin originally started off as a feature with 3 stories in it, a trilogy, if you will, like that, and it kind of explains like this cabin, is just not good news. So I entered it in festivals, did pretty well. And I had a lot of people though hit me back and kind of say, like, the first story in Murder Cabin is very intriguing. And that first story is set in the 50s, a Donna Reed, Leave It to Beaver kind of style, like how I'm starting it off. But the mom absolutely loses her shit. Like we start learning like there's like a dark past within this family, especially with the father. The
Mm.
father isn't that leave it to one of his faces is, but then he's also like a pretty much a deviant, not only dark, disturbed, but a sexual, you know, it just has a sexual deviant, like I know I've been
A
using
good
that word.
old nuclear family perv.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great name for a band. Hello, Milwaukee. We're
Yeah.
nuclear.
So I think a bit of surf rock, like surf rock hardcore, something like that. But
So I was like, I just kind of put it on the wayside. I was like, hey, the script did well. It actually got published through 13horror.com. Shout out. And so it became like a little book and it was on Amazon. And so it started gaining a little traction. Like people were like, it's a cool story. And then I have a buddy, Brian, who was like, dude, we've done a short film before. We're good friends. We've worked together. Like we both can feed off each other pretty well. He's a master behind the lens. I'm really excited about. And so slowly it started coming together, and now it's full on. Now it is. We have a cast. And that cast, it's a cast of 4: mother, of course,
of course.
husband, of course, and then you got their 2 kids, teenage daughter Shelly and little boy, son, Buddy. And actually, the guy who plays the husband is my co-host in SlashU, Andy Damos, Professor
All
Damos.
right.
And it's amazing how good. Like I didn't know that he had an acting background. Guy's like like just full of many surprises, and like he's been a homie, brother for like many years. And so uh, it just seemed to work well. We got Sydney Moody, who's an actress out of Chicago. She's actually done horror before, so and she's
Okay.
really excited about this. And then my daughter is a local girl named Chloe Simpson. She's at a high school here in Milwaukee that focuses on art, and
Oh, I
it's
love that.
Milwaukee School of the Arts. And then the guy who's editing, it's a guy I skateboard with. He's a professor of cinema, and his son, and they love horror. And so it just happened. His son is 11, perfect age of Buddy, and he's killing it. We just had a table read, and everyone came up to me and was like, not like the actors, they're like the real people that do it. They were like, that boy is like, he's really gonna do well. I'm like, yeah, he's great. So we have a great cast, great crew. Found someone, Britt Olson, who's gonna do our effects. We shoot at the cabin in the Northwoods over Memorial Weekend. Um, it's a short film. I don't really have a time on it yet, but we have a great buddy, Ryan, who's going to be scoring the film. It's just amazing how fast it's coming up. So we do have a Kickstarter. We're so close. That's
Yeah,
why
you all are about you're about 1,000 away from your funding goal, and you've got about 2 weeks left. Is that about right?
you got it right there, brother.
There we go.
Yeah, and it's like we're not looking for much. I know it's like it really is that thing where you say like $5 or $10 really does go a long way, but we're trying to
Sure.
even offer like, hey, you send us $30, we're gonna send you a koozie and a t-shirt. So what you can look cool, you can be like the cool kid on the block with a murder cabin t-shirt while you're drinking your whatever, your Fago out of your out of this grad koozie.
I only thought they sold those in 2 liters. You might have to make a 2 liter koozie for those Fago bottles, but
Holy shit. What a great idea. That is unbelievable. No, but so it really is like it just so weird to see it all coming together. But the cabin we have is intense. Like we are on 500, like over 500 acres.
oh wow, you got
And
a lot of space to play.
yeah, and it's so cool. We were thinking like, what if like we were like just telling everybody we're shooting a movie, but then we take them up there and then we actually kill them. And that's the movie, like where you tell like people you're making a movie, but I'm sure that's probably been done. But it's like you
Yeah,
take every under the guise of, hey, help us film this movie, but we're really gonna kill you. So Murder Cabin's actually a snuff film. No, I'm kidding. But
yeah, we're raising funds for the first ever widely kickstarted snuff film. So I think what stands out is that one, folks that know you and know the SlashU podcast know that there's a true passion for the genre, not
yes.
just of horror, but it's explicitly slasher films. How much, or are there any inspirations from your own fandom that show up in the script or will show up in the final film?
That's so rad you asked that question. Um, I saw a kill in a movie recently. My wife had picked it out, and it's Girl House. And not I don't know if you heard of it.
Heard of it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a premises, it's a girl house, like adult entertainment, girls living in a house. But the first kill in that movie just was awesome. And like it was done in that style of like where you don't need a lot of gore, like Adam Green or the great movie Sweatshop, but it was just so eloquently done. So that is something that I wish I could say like I would take away, stylings of Adam Green or something, but I don't have a budget. My budget wouldn't even pay for all the blood that dude uses in the Hatchet series. But this has also kind of been a love letter to that 50s kind of like the daughter's name is Shelly, and Shelly Fabra played the daughter in Donna Reed. So I kind of Shelly Fabrace. She was also Coach's girlfriend in this 80 sitcom or 90 sitcom called Coach. But
Oh yeah, with Craig T. Nelson.
yeah, Craig T. Nelson. His wife or girlfriend, wife, whatever, in that show was Shelly Fabres. And so she played
Wow.
the daughter and Donna Reed. So that's where I get the daughter's name. But as far as like I really is that call to action where it is let's make this eerie through film. I don't know the cinematographer's name, but Dark Windows was another one that just from behind the lens, I was like, this is beautiful. So I definitely have been going back to that and kind of looking at images to showcase, like if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
such a great slow burn story that just a great story. I recommend it if anyone hasn't seen it. But I didn't want to go too cheesy. Like if we did make, like for instance, if we made the second trilogy, like where the 80s, like that was a mass killer, and this is 90s band, high school kids coming up, boobs, blood. Like that was kind of like the love letter to like, I'm gonna go take a shower by myself, kind of 80s
No one
camp
will get me in this
horror.
dark woods with no flashlight. Ever. Ever.
This one I don't want to make hokey. Like I
Right.
like this one is dark. Like this story, and as I've been kind of adding to the story, I've added inspirations from The Shining. Shining, that's just I like that Simpsons reference. We must call it The Shining. But The Shining to a scene that we've added to kind of show isolation, I think is really going to add to the story. Because I'm really excited for people to watch the mom go through her emotions, I should say. I like to think it's very empowering for women, this story. But like, so getting back to it, so like as far as like that blood and like, the heads rolling off, I don't want to go there with this one. Like this
Right.
one is, it's not, I usually like writing comedy horror, and like Discarded was one I wrote about killer Christmas trees. Like fun. I just wrote one called Shark of the Dead about a zombie shark, which I know they have one, but this one is actually making its rounds
You
in
can
festivals.
never have enough of those movies. Let's be
Yes.
honest. The more, the merrier with in the
But
zombie
this one,
shark
like,
genre.
I am really like, if I, what the goal is for this, I'm just gonna go ahead and like, so, and the goal is for this is to actually do well, because if you did get kind of noticed and people were like, hey, there's so much content out there. If someone was like, they did take an interest in you and gave you a budget, there's so much cool stuff that we have already written in the bank. Like, uh, we actually, I did one, like, I just love writing, and so there's stuff that we want to do, and I know everyone has these like dreams, and like in film, and everyone knows everyone that made a short film or has started one, or like Buddy's band played a song in a film. But this one, like we're wanting to do it right. Like we have the legit, like we got it. Like we have a good, like our surroundings, our equipment, our actors, like, so the goal is to kind of continue to hopefully build into this bank. If we could continue the murder cabin story, we could. It might need some rewriting, but that's easy. But there's also other stuff that we have in mind as well. So it's just fascinating.
There's a long
And
history of like filmmakers going and making a short and then getting the chance to actually go back and take that short and then make it a feature, right? And so I think that there's it sounds like you're taking the route that so many filmmakers that we talk to on the site take, which is they just get frustrated enough to actually go do something about it. Like, God damn it, it's time to make this movie already. And they go and make it. And then next thing you know, kind of leads to the next one and so on and so forth. So if would you, if you are going to proceed down this path, do you think the next project would be the follow up to Murder Cabin, or would it be one of these kind of other ideas you've kind of got in the hopper?
I, Brian and I, when we were putting together a short film that we did called The Mop, um, we like he was redoing a house, and he found these photos, a Polaroid of like a Milwaukee German guy, like like a big guy, like, and he was dressed, no big deal, but he was obviously taking photos of himself in women's clothes, and they found him like in these walls and hit him, and
Mm.
I was like, "There's a fucking story there," so I wrote it, and we called it Six Pictures, and it's a dark, no comedy. It's like a psycho, some like it's definitely got more of a like a psycho draw to it. So I'd like to do Six Pictures.
Sounds interesting. I mean, anything involving people that are hiding a part of themselves from the rest of the world is always kind of immediately intrinsically interesting.
Yes,
Um,
it's
but yeah, there's a lot to work with there.
there. It's also about just kind of like a guy starting his life with a new wife. He finds the pictures, and he kind of starts going down a dark path because of these photos. And so the story is there. It's only got first draft, but and I really didn't throw it around in any festivals, because I wanted to keep this really close to us, But it's about 120 pages. I think it'd be cut a
Wow.
little bit, but the story I think is, it's just so interesting. Like you said, like this idea that it's no shame to this person for
Sure.
wanting to, but the photos were. I'm telling you, brother, the photos. like we would use the real photos too. I don't know. We might have to. I don't even know. I would doubt that the person's still alive who's in the photos, but like there's a story there. And so that's what, if anybody was like, because there's so much. I hate seeing these stupid films come out. Like A24 does well, Bloomhouse does well, like all these rad production companies that are now based, for horror films, that really want to. And it's and so many streaming services that that Shutter and like I can't even start going down. It's like, God, give the there's filmmaking that is really smart out there, and and there's great gore and it's fun, like those funny slashy movies, but this one, I'm the first two I want to do. They're not the comedy, like they're like the
Hey, there's
dark
always
side.
time for comedy. You can always come back to the comedy side, but kind of get, it's very hard to kick things off with a horror comedy. Whereas if you play it straight horror, you have a chance to really make a mark and then kind of open things up. And, I'm curious to know, as you guys are going into production in May, how long's the production schedule looking like? When do you hope to have your, at least a first cut ready for review and the like?
Well, film festivals have been kind of weird about like showing it. Like some of them, like you can't. Like it's weird how I don't care really about a premiere. We're definitely doing a premiere here. We actually, the owner of the agency I work at, the communications agency I work at, is renting out an entire theater
Oh,
um,
wow. That's
at
cool.
Marcus Theater here. So we'll have a step and repeat and all that. That said, I don't know like when it'll be out. Like the idea right now is to get this in film festivals. We've already been asked to, like, just because Murder Cabin has a scripted well, like if you make this, consider yourself in. Um, that's it, but that's just a selection. So that doesn't, like a select, but that doesn't get you where you want to go. So that said, production starts in May. The bulk of it being done over Memorial Weekend up in the Northwoods of Wisconsin. And so we hope to have it in post. I hope, I know Brian's not here, but I hope to have it in post like in summer. Because I mean, it's again, I can't really put a time on it, but I would say anywhere from like 35 to 45 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Especially the isolation scene with our daughter actress. I mean, we could really go far with that. Really add that element, especially with a great score. I think it would really do well. But fall, what a great time to release a horror film. You know,
Especially when taking place in the woods, in a cabin. I mean, there's no better time than fall to really heighten that atmosphere. And, I guess for those that, are you planning on putting it on YouTube once you've kind of finally got it produced, or holding it onto it for physical media?
I this is so new to me. Like we did the mop, and the mop was just a funny story. It's no horror, just about an experience I had at a adult bookstore up in Seattle when I was young, and so that's on YouTube. But I don't know. Like we were so young, like I say young, but we were so new, especially Brian, as he was getting his lens up. But like sound really wasn't that great. Like we're really taking the sound serious. The guy who's editing it, my buddy, like edits, like he edited a film that did won an Oscar for a short film documentary or something. So like
Oh, wow.
he's an editing colorist. Like he's gonna be great to have in there. So like editing and sound are my biggest things. So I don't know. That's a question that I just answer TBD.
Yeah,
Like
no, I mean, I think it all depends, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it ultimately depends what you want to do with the work. But at the same time, it's just exciting to know that you're in the process of actually getting it funded, and whatever happens, as I'm sure you can probably appreciate, you're just trying to figure out what's the next few things that we need to get done. I can't, it's harder to look so much further out into time and how things are going to be.
yeah, it really, like, to me, it's the practical effects are very important to me. Sounds very important to me. Scores very important to me. Editing, shooting, like of course, like it's all important. Let's get to that. Let's be honest, it's all important. But like I'm making sure that, like, I was talking to my effects artist, and I'm like, listen, like I'd much rather go for the Hitchcock or the Spielberg, Jaws, like how he had to, because the shark kept breaking down, how he had to, you know, make suspense horror without using a monster. You know, it's classic. What a great story. So, you know, those components, I'd much rather do that than show the blood, even though I want the blood,
Yeah.
I want the gore, obviously, but I don't like, you know, it's if it's a film where you're like going to see like that kind of fake like shit, like Microwave Massacre or something like that, like ha, 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 you know, like it's just I don't want people to laugh at it. Like I don't
Yeah.
want I want people to be like, there's one line I think that'll get a laugh, and that's great. But I don't. I want people to kind of walk away going like, good for her or something. You know, like I'm you know, that's like where I'm going. You know, and as someone who loves the just just such a fan of the genre, I just don't want to. I don't want to do her wrong. I
Yeah.
want the genre to be proud.
No, that's admirable and noble. So I guess before we kind of wrap up here, is there anything else? I mean, as far as the Kickstarter goes, just to give everyone a reminder here, we'll put the link to the Kickstarter in
Thank you.
both this YouTube as well as the article we'll post. And then it's got about 2 weeks left of funding, which doesn't mean you have 2 weeks to wait. It means you have do it right now while you're listening to this.
Yes,
But Nick, is there
please.
anything else to share that you'd like others to know about the production of the film before we close out?
Well, I mean, even if money is tight, like sharing the link, you know, on your social channels. You know, it's amazing how many people we've had reach out that we didn't know. Like, you know, a lot of friends and family, of course, have thrown in money, and that's great. But you know, like if we could even get a little bit more than the goal, I mean, I'm gonna, you know, it's gonna go to good use. I just don't want to think like at 5,600 we stop. Like, I mean, you know, there's definitely hidden costs, and knowing what we're learning, you know, like as we continue this process, like yeah, sure, I'm comfortable with my writing, but now I'm having to get comfortable, you know, on the other side, you know, like, you know, actually directing and actually, you know, putting together the storyboard, putting together the shot list, you know, putting together like there's so many different components. So like it's nice to be able to have like, you know, everyone at the MD come out and show the support. So what I'm getting at is that even like if there's nothing like stories like this and sharing and small donations like $5, $10, I mean that adds up, and it's just so much. Because I promise, like, you know, even if you donate $5, you're invited to the premiere. Cleveland's, I mean, you're not far from
No,
Milwaukee. So come on, you know, it's a 5 hour drive. You could do it. But like we're excited, you know, everyone's invited, but you know, it will be, it's a love letter. That's how I like to say it. It's a love letter to the genre that I love. And I think we're actually showing something that's not, you know, from the 50s, from like, you know, you think that, like you said, that nuclear, like, hey, honey, kind of vibe to something really dark. So and I guess if anybody was going to ask if I could talk about one of my favorite movies that I love, I'm a big fan. Uh, Two Kings, pun intended, John Carpenter and Stephen King. Christine,
there we
I,
go.
uh, Christine is, I think that is an inspiration for me. Again, you know, you'd think not a lot of blood, but still a very cool story.
It's very
Written by,
effective. Like
yeah,
even though it's not a gory movie, it's very much good at what it's doing as far as making you scared as fuck of a car.
yeah,
Which it's
yeah.
not easy to do unless it's coming right at you at 100 miles an hour.
God, it's such a it's a movie I could watch. Like I own it, so you know I watch it over and over. I have a little shrine to it, but like I could just talk movies, like especially this genre. God, every time I say genre, drink. Um, like I just it's something where I find something like in every movie I see where like that's cool, and I feel bad for my wife now because like I'll sit there and start critiquing stuff now, like I'm that guy watching gymnastics, you know, or something going, look at that person fall down, you know, like
Yeah.
but no, I do appreciate it. Thank you so much again, you know, for taking the time out to hang out with me.
Oh no, of course, Nick. I
I'm
mean,
really
we
proud. I'm proud of the cast, proud of the crew, proud of everyone that's associated with this, you know, film. And if you do listen to Slash U, it's like I'm sure people are like, God, are they going to talk about murder cabin again? Because I'm even having to kind of calm that down a little bit, and we're doing brackets, like we're just kind of putting killers up together. So just to kind of have content to put out, because it's just this is taking over right now. So anything goes a long way. And please, if you have any questions, hit us up at SlashU. On Instagram, /U_podcast. We actually have an Instagram too for Murder Cabin, murder_cabin_movie. I also, real quick too, I guess I'm also learning that the word murder isn't good on Instagram. So I don't know if that's kind of harping us a little bit, because I think you can only say like giggles and tickles now. I
You
think
might
the
have to make the oo and umlaut or something like that, so that Instagram doesn't speak German, so you just change the language on one character, you're good. But I mean, to everyone that's watching this, make sure you Google Kickstarter Murder Cabin, right? There, that's the best way to find the Kickstarter. You'll get a link to it in this video as well as this article. And again, like Nick said, help make this dream come true so we can get
Support local, yes.
more great murder cabins, more great horror movies, and of course, keeping it independent and classy. So, Nick, we'll be promoting this as much as we possibly can. We'll be watching the Kickstarter funds, I'm sure, closely to see when this gets funded, and we're looking forward to seeing Murder Cabin when it's done.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to keep sharing. And once this is all done, hopefully I can submit my resume again, so I can start writing some fun
Doors
stories.
always open,
Thank
always.
you. That's awesome. Thank you.
All right, adios, Nick.
Later.